Hi everyone, it's Birky's book time. So we did chapter 9. I did chapter 9 yesterday, and now I'm going to do chapter 10. And before I do, I'd just like to give a shout out to the children who I was in school with the other day. So Kaysen and Jasmine, you said you'd been listening a little bit to Birky's book time. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you've continued to listen. And to Morgan as well, you've been listening, so thank you for that. Archie's asleep, as usual. Would he be doing anything else? And you probably can hear him snoring, but I'm going to show you him because I know you like to see him. There he is, look. Oh, he's so chilled. He'll probably wake up at the end so you can see him then. Okay, we're going to get on with chapter 10 because I am desperate to find out what happens to Lily. So, let's go. Lily opened her eyes. Her mouth was dry and her body soaked in sweat. Her heart beat erratically, her pulse thudding through her. She took several deep breaths, holding in the air, then let it out slowly. She wouldn't sleep now, that was for sure. The hands on her bedside clock said it was nearly 3. She stood unsteadily and stared out the window. Behind the curtains, snow was falling in thick flakes. It was almost as if she was still in her nightmare. She shuddered at the thought of Mama's words, spoken months before the accident. The secret's at the heart of it. Why had she remembered that phrase? Was it to do with the fossil? She wasn't even sure where it was anymore. And had Mama really said it? Or was it remembered from somewhere else? Then there was the new part of the dream, Papa's invention in the box. We have to keep it safe and hidden, he told her. The box was a memory, she was sure of that. Another fragment from the accident she tried to blank out, but she couldn't because it was part of the puzzle of all this. It had to be in his study and she would find it. Lily sat up, lit the candle by her bedside and then pulled on her slippers. The door to Papa's study would not open. Madame must have locked it. Lily didn't bother with a hairpin. She knew where to find the spare key. She found a nearby chair to stand on and ran her fingers along the top of the door frame until she felt the key cold against her hand. Then she took it down and put it in the lock. The study was filled from floor to ceiling with shelves of dusty boxes and books. Blueprints and plans lay strewn across the desk blotter. Files and folders were stacked on the occasional table, and bold papers were scattered about the rest of the room. Papa was always neat and tidy. Someone had obviously been through his things, and Lily had a strong suspicion who. She caught a distinct whiff of Madame's perfume. Mrs. Rust was right. The housekeeper had been prying here. But if she hadn't found anything, how was Lily to know where to start? Angrily, she kicked over the waste paper basket and a crumpled telegram toppled out. She picked it up and smoothed it flat across the blotter on the desk so she could read what it said. Post office telegraphs. The child may have a clue to the whereabouts of the perpetual motion machine. Bring her back to the house immediately and try to jog her memory. R and N. The perpetual motion machine. Wasn't that the thing Madame had mentioned to her this very afternoon? Maybe that's what Papa's secret invention was. The thing in the box. If so, Lily hoped the housekeeper wouldn't find it. She had the distinct impression she herself was meant to make the discovery. Otherwise, why would she have remembered it in her dream? She pulled a few random books from the shelves and flipped through their pages, hoping to find inspiration, but nothing jumped out at her. Then she examined the blueprints on Papa's desk, but they weren't of any interest either. Finally, she stepped over to the fireplace, where Mama's ashes sat in an urn on the mantel. Lily traced the engraved words on its surface with her finger. Grace Rose Hartman, 1847 to 1889. Wife, mother, and heart of all our lives. She so dearly wanted to remember Mama. She closed her eyes and tried to summon her mind, her smell, her voice, her laughter. But 7 years had passed, and she'd become a fuzzy face, lost in the recesses of time. The only thing Lily had left of her was the snatched picture in her dreams, that and the youthful portrait above the mantel. The portrait was painted before Lily was born, but Mamma's soft brown eyes and loving smile felt familiar. Lily missed the warmth of that smile and the safety of those arms. Life had been so cold without them, like a part of her had gone missing. And now perhaps Papa was gone too. Lily held her breath. What was it her parents had said to her in her memory, in her dream? The secret's at the heart of it. We have to keep it safe and hidden. The safe! Lily dragged the chair over from behind the desk. She pushed Mamma's ashes carefully along the mantel until they were clear of the picture. Then she reached up and, clutching the side of the frame, pulled it towards her. The picture swung out from the wall, hinged on one side, and there, behind it, was the safe. Something told Lily that Madame had already looked here. The number lock seemed to have been scratched at with a nail file. But Madame probably knew nothing about safes. Not as much as Lily and the notorious jackdaw anyhow, and Lily had the double advantage of knowing more special Hartman family dates than Madame, so she was sure she'd be able to guess the combination. She started with her own birthday, twisting the lock around and stopping the numbers one by one under the arrow until the tumblers inside clicked. That didn't work, but she wasn't surprised. Madame would have tried her birthday, and Papa's too, perhaps. Even Mamma's. Or Malkin's, because Lily found none of those worked either. Then she had a horrible thought. She reached up to the safe lock and dialed in another number. The date of Mamma's death. The date of the accident. The safe swung open. Inside, on the small metal shelf, was the rosewood box with brass corners. Lily took it out and closed the safe door. She tried the lid, but the box was locked. So she replaced the picture and the urn just as she'd found them. Then, with the box under an arm, she crept from the room, shutting the door behind her before locking it again. Back in her bed, she positioned the box at her feet in the centre of the blanket and sat hugging her knees. Staring at it, the keyhole of the box was made from gold and the plate around it was shaped like a tiny heart with patterns of cogs pressed into the metal. Lily took a hairpin from the discarded pile on her bedside table and tried one in the lock, but it didn't work. Silly to think it would. The mechanism was obviously far too complex. She was wondering where the key could possibly be when she heard Madame's soft footsteps in the passage. She licked her fingers, doused the candle flame, then threw a blanket over herself and the box and lay curled up against it, pretending to be asleep. Her heart thumped in her chest, blood hissing in her ears as she waited. The door rattled and creaked, as if someone was opening it and peering in. Then it shut softly, and there was a quiet click as a key turned in the lock. Lily let out a sigh of relief.